What if I told you that your brain holds a secret, a vast reservoir of untapped power just waiting to be unlocked? You've probably heard the old claim, we only use 10% of our brains. It sounds fascinating, almost mystical. But here's the twist, that idea is a myth. A captivating one, yes, but still a myth. The truth is far more thrilling. We are already equipped to use 100% of our brain's capacity. The question isn't whether we can. The question is how. The 10% myth likely originated from a misunderstanding in early neurological research. Back then, scientists observed that only about 10% of the brain consisted of neurons, the cells responsible for transmitting signals. The remaining 90% was made up of other types of cells, which they labeled as glial cells, or simply supporting tissue. For decades, these glial cells were seen as little more than the scaffolding of the brain, passive, silent helpers standing in the shadows of the mighty neurons. But modern science tells a very different story. Glial cells are not just background players. In fact, they are essential collaborators in the grand symphony of the mind. Think of glial cells as the editors to the neuron's story. If neurons are the words, glial cells shape the sentence. They don't just support, they influence, guide, even dictate certain neural activities. They connect with neurons, regulate their function, and can either activate or inhibit them. These unsung heroes are deeply woven into how we think, feel, learn, and grow. To better appreciate this collaboration, let's dive into how neurons and glial cells operate within the brain. Neurons, often considered the brain's main communicators, transmit information through rapid electrical impulses. These signals create the foundation for our thoughts, movements, decisions, and even our dreams. But here's the catch. Neurons can't do it alone. Their health, efficiency, and survival depend heavily on the surrounding glial cells. These support cells come in various forms, each with specialized duties. Astrocytes, for example, are one type of glial cell that maintain the chemical environment around neurons. They ensure the delicate balance needed for neurons to fire properly. They're also critical for forming synapses, those tiny gaps where neurons connect and exchange information. Microglia, another type, act like the brain's immune system, cleaning up waste, dead cells, and toxins. Oligodendrocytes. They wrap around neurons like insulation around an electrical wire, allowing impulses to travel faster and more effectively. Together, this neural-glial alliance shapes every experience you've ever had. Whether you're solving a math problem or writing a poem, neurons and glial cells are dancing in unison, powering your brain like a perfectly tuned machine. But there's another layer to unlocking the brain's full potential, the relationship between the brain's two hemispheres. You've probably heard that the left side of the brain is logical and analytical, while the right side is creative and emotional. That's partly true, but what's more important is how these two sides work together. The left hemisphere excels at language reasoning and detail-oriented tasks. Meanwhile, the right hemisphere handles imagination, intuition, and big-picture thinking. Individually, they are powerful, but when synchronized, they become unstoppable. One simple way to activate this harmony is through cross-lateral movements like crossing your arms or legs. It may sound trivial, but this subtle action encourages both hemispheres to communicate, creating a flow of integrated thought. It's like initiating a handshake between two genius minds inside your head. This cross-hemispheric interaction opens the door to heightened learning, faster problem-solving, and a greater sense of mental clarity. Imagine having access to logic and creativity, at the same time a cognitive superpower within your grasp. Around the age of 7 or 8, something fascinating happens. The brain begins to exhibit hemispheric dominance. One hemisphere takes the lead for a time, then gradually hands over control to the other. This cycle repeats throughout the day, almost like a wave rolling from left to right and back again. Sometimes you may feel incredibly logical, focused on details, calculations, and analysis. That's your left hemisphere taking the wheel. At other times, you might drift into a more emotional or imaginative state, your right hemisphere coming to life. This rhythm is completely natural. However, if you get stuck in one mode, say overly analytical or excessively emotional, you may lose sight of the broader picture. That's when mental imbalance sets in. But if you can learn to recognize these shifts and consciously seek balance, you unlock an extraordinary level of awareness and performance. So how can you take this understanding and apply it to your daily life? Here are some simple yet powerful techniques to promote brain synchronization and activate the full potential of both hemispheres. On mindful breathing and meditation. Practicing slow, conscious breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, calming the mind. In this peaceful state, the two hemispheres naturally begin to cooperate. Even 5 to 10 minutes a day can make a huge difference. 2. Cross-body exercises. Physical movements like touching your left knee with your right hand and vice versa stimulate bilateral brain activity. These exercises are especially useful for children, but remain highly effective for adults. 3. Journaling and drawing. Writing engages the logical side of the brain, while drawing or doodling awakens the creative side. Doing both together can create a bridge between hemispheres, nurturing cognitive fluidity. 4. Learning new skills. Trying something new. Playing an instrument, learning a new language, dancing requires different regions of the brain to cooperate. This builds neural connections and strengthens both hemispheres. 5. Daily reflection and balanced thinking. Ask yourself at the end of the day, have I made decisions based on logic alone or emotion alone? This simple check-in encourages more balanced mental processing and self-awareness. Your brain is not limited by the 10% myth. In reality, you're wired with the tools to engage every corner of your mind. Neurons, glial cells, left and right hemispheres, all waiting to be activated. The key lies in awareness, intention, and daily practice. The more you understand and harmonize your brain's complex systems, the more empowered you become. So don't settle for partial potential. Embrace the science, take the steps, and start experiencing what it means to use your whole brain, your whole self. Because the greatest discoveries of your life won't come from outside, they will come from within your own mind. As we uncovered earlier, unlocking the full capacity of our brain isn't just about neurons and glial cells working together, it's about creating daily habits that stimulate the entire mind. So how exactly can we activate this whole brain potential in everyday life? Let's dive deeper into practical techniques that align the brain's hemispheres and awaken both logic and creativity. It begins with something as simple and instinctive as breathing. Take a moment. Inhale deeply through your nose, hold it gently, and exhale slowly through your mouth. Feel your body relax. This isn't just a calming exercise, it's a gateway to whole brain activation. Deep mindful breathing engages both the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, helping the brain move into a balanced state. In this calm awareness, the chatter of the mind quiets, and the two hemispheres begin to sync. Just a few minutes of conscious breathing each day can help establish the internal environment necessary for hemispheric harmony. It's as if the breath acts like a bridge, gently connecting the left and right sides of your mind. Building on this foundation, another powerful yet often overlooked method is cross-lateral movement. This includes simple gestures like crossing your arms or legs movements, where the limbs on opposite sides of the body engage together. These actions stimulate communication between the left and right hemispheres, encouraging better integration and cooperation. You don't need to be an athlete to benefit. Everyday choices can have a surprisingly strong effect. Try switching the hand you use to brush your teeth, stir your coffee, or open doors. Cross your legs differently when you sit or fold your arms the other way. These micro adjustments challenge the brain to adapt, nudging it out of autopilot and into active alignment. They may seem insignificant at first glance, but over time these small movements spark significant neural rewiring. Think of them as subtle switches flipping on pathways that were once dormant. Another essential practice for brain synchronization is creative engagement. Whether it's painting, journaling, dancing, playing a musical instrument, or crafting any activity that encourages free expression is a golden opportunity for hemispheric integration. Creativity isn't just about artistry, it's about exploration. It pulls from emotion, intuition, rhythm, and vision right brain, while also requiring structure, technique, timing, and control left brain. When you're lost in a creative act, you're not just expressing, you're unifying. You're allowing both hemispheres to communicate fluidly, sparking new insights, and even healing emotional blocks. Set aside time each week, or ideally each day, for something creative. Not for productivity, not for perfection, but for play. In that space, your brain can stretch beyond limits, beyond routines, and into inspired realms where new neural connections are formed. In addition to breath and movement, brain training exercises offer another route towards synchronization. Puzzles, memory games, strategy-based board games like chess or Sudoku, These challenges require your mind to operate on multiple levels. When you play chess, for example, your left hemisphere is planning steps, assessing risk, and analyzing patterns, while your right hemisphere visualizes the board, anticipates moves, and responds to intuition. This kind of cognitive multitasking strengthens the bridge between the two hemispheres, creating mental agility and a more resilient mind. Even apps and games designed specifically for brain development, it can be incorporated into your routine. The key is variety. Keep your mind on its toes. Just like physical fitness, cognitive fitness thrives on diverse, stimulating experiences. One of the most transformative benefits of brain synchronization is its ability to free us from repetitive thinking patterns. We all have mental ruts, automatic thoughts, and behaviors we've repeated for years. They feel familiar, safe, but they can become limiting. The brain in its efficiency tends to reuse established neural pathways. This conserves energy, but it also reinforces habits that may no longer serve us. When we activate both hemispheres intentionally, we interrupt this cycle. We disrupt those old, worn grooves. We awaken underused pathways. It's like taking a different route home. Suddenly you notice things you've never seen before. This disruption creates space for growth. You start thinking in new ways, seeing new options, finding unexpected solutions. It's in this freedom from habit that personal transformation begins. What's truly empowering is that none of these techniques require expensive tools or dramatic lifestyle changes. They only ask for intention. Whether it's 5 minutes of mindful breathing, switching hands while you write, picking up an old sketchbook, or doing a brain teaser during your break, these small conscious efforts accumulate. They not only boost brain function, creativity, and emotional clarity, they help you live more fully. With hemispheric synchronization, you become more adaptable, more aware, and more in tune with both the logical and intuitive aspects of your being. And perhaps most importantly, you begin to realize that your mind was never meant to operate in fragments. You were designed for integration, for unity, for wholeness. So let's return to that old myth, the idea that we only use 10% of our brains. It's not only outdated, it's disempowering. You were born with the ability to access your entire mind. But that access requires more than just knowledge, it requires intention. Through brain synchronization, by consciously engaging both hemispheres, you begin to unlock the richness of your full mental potential. You break free from habits. You invite clarity. You create space for growth, insight, and transformation. The path to a more harmonious, effective, and inspired life starts not with some outside tool, but within your own mind. And with every conscious breath, every intentional movement, every creative spark, you step closer to that full awakening.